From the truckload quoting page within TMS, you can create a new shipment to instantly display your historical lane average alongside all of the market-leading rating intelligence tools. In just a few clicks, you can adjust the quote, add your margin, select your quote response template, and email an official quote right off to the customer from the same page. Request a demo today at tie-software.com to find out how TMS can optimize your quoting process.
Welcome back to another edition of Chat Call. Today we are covering the beautiful world of sustainability and certain initiatives that you can take. Today we are joined by Lars Ward, Vice President of Business Development at FreightVana. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mary. Super excited to jump on.
I am really excited about this one because for those who may not know, sometimes you'll see on LinkedIn hashtag FOFV, and that is hashtag Friends of FreightVana. And that is something that I believe you and I and Don started, FOVOVs, at F3. So it's kind of like a friend of the pod, a friend of the show, a friend of FreightVana, and I love it.
Freight friends, real life friends. It's a thing.
No matter what, you've got a friend in me. All right, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop with the cheesy references.
Let me hear the dad jokes today, please.
You are infinitely more qualified than I am for a good dad joke. So let's get a little bit of background on you and how you started at FreightVana.
Yeah, so my name's Lars Ward, Vice President of Business Development. I run our sales organization here at FreightVana. I was a part of the founding team day one, almost 2 years ago. And what are we trying to do? We want to be the industry's most transparent broker. That's what we want to be. And I get to have a part of building that every single day. And a part of this that's really exciting for me, I get to champion all of our sustainability programs. So I know that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about, but super passionate on a personal level. Outside of work, I like long walks on the beach. That's a little bit about me.
I like it. Do you also enjoy getting caught in the rain and some pina coladas on your long walks on the beach?
Yeah, some would say.
I like it because you guys are single-handedly trying to make reshape the image and what people think of when they think of freight brokers, because traditionally it's a shiesty McShysterson or someone just trying to pull one over on you, and you guys are like, nah, that's not our style.
There's such an opportunity in a competitive, crowded industry to show up a little bit differently and to build a different kind of partnership experience with not just with shippers, but with carriers. And that's the entire spirit of it. So I think we've stood out in a short amount of time because we're doing something different. That's a lot of fun.
I like it. It's kind of like you're blazing your own trail and there's no rules. So you're making them up as you go because there is no rules for how to run a company. That's the beauty of, starting your own thing is you get to do whatever you want. But today we are here to talk about sustainability, and as we know, it's Earth Day is in April, so spoiler alert, there's going to be a lot of sustainability episodes coming up, and it's going to be okay. But one thing that you guys have done pretty early on, I think this happened less than a year into you guys starting, was you started doing this One Tree Planted initiative. For those who don't know, for every load that gets booked, you basically plant a tree. So kind of what led you guys to that as like your major thing, especially so early on?
Yeah. So, and it was a little earlier than that. We started at our inception with this program. So for the lifetime of FreightVana, every load we've ever shipped, a tree has been planted. So it's a forest that's growing and gaining a lot of traction. But I'll bring you back to one of our early meetings. There's a few of us sitting around a conference table, and we were talking about the importance of sustainability. This is not a subject matter that is going away. In fact, when we think about what it's going to look like 1, 5, 10 years down the road, there's so much coming down with sustainability and so much that's going to impact transportation. We knew it was important not only for our shippers, but for all of our stakeholders, our employees, our carriers. We wanted to do something. And I think the traditional playbook is to say we're going to eliminate inefficiencies in the supply chain. I want to eliminate deadhead, idle time. I want to have drop trailers to reduce all this inefficiency that's already baked in. And here's the dirty secret. Everybody's doing that. Everybody's doing it. Some market that better, but everybody's doing it. That's not in and of itself special. So we're sitting around a conference table and we wanted to do something that was real, something that was tangible, something that would make an impact. And I think for me, what would help me to tell this narrative, this storytelling of the impact we can make together. And so, I'd come up with the idea: what if we would plant a tree every time that we would ship a full truckload? And since the Industrial Revolution, we've lost somewhere between a quarter and a third of our global forest. This is a great project to be a part of. Let's change that story, and let's do it through the growth of this business with our shippers. What's great about it? You can do this through half a dozen really great nonprofit organizations. We chose one based in Vermont. They're a 501c3 called One Tree Planted, and you're able to do this for just $1. So effectively, it's a charitable contribution of $1 per load. They've got an incredible success rate of getting these trees all the way through maturity. And depending on the species where the tree is planted, the mature lifespan of a tree is somewhere between 75 and 200 plus years. But if we use a conservative estimate of 100 years, every single tree will sequester over its lifetime 4,800 pounds of carbon. That is a real impact. And as you can imagine, every time a load ships, that impact only grows. So this is a story that we're not only excited to tell to our shippers, to our partners, we're excited to tell it to the industry.
I mean, it's a strong story. To take out that much carbon. I mean, yeah, it'll take 75 to 100 years or whatever, but that to remove all of it, but that whole tree, like it actively starts removing carbon from the atmosphere, like day one when it's planted. Well, not necessarily day one, when it like becomes a tiny little stick.
It's a little bit day one, and it gets a lot bigger.
Exactly. That's that exponential growth. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, that compared with, some of the other technology that's running around in the supply chain, from, cutting down your empty miles, pairing loads together, making more efficient routes, like that combined with the trees literally sucking the carbon out of the air is just kind of almost a win-win combination.
It is. And then go back to this idea of the story we get to tell. Do you like the outdoors? Do you like hiking? Because I like my forest when they have trees in them. Right?
Turns out the desert is not that exciting if it was everywhere. It's like fun for like a little bit in the Southwest where you are, but I still like a tree every now and then.
I can drive and see some pretty cool trees and a pretty cool forest in northern Arizona, but this improves wildlife. It improves nature if you just like the recreational aspects. But then there's also, it stops erosion. It promotes, not just carbon sequestration, but cleaner air in general, and also better water conservation. There's all of these benefits when you start planting a tree that tell the story of you've made a more positive impact by shipping a load. How great is that?
I mean, it's literally like, personally, I'm a big fan of the planet. I think anyone who's ever listened to a single episode or read any newsletter knows that I will cram sustainability in any way that I can. I'm a big fan of the planet. I'd kind of like it to stay around. So I think that anything that we can do to help that initiative and help, ensure that, maybe like kids of kids or like future generations can go see like the redwoods in California, or they can go hang out in the park for the day, or they can go hiking, because without that, it's just gonna be really sad for everybody.
Yeah. It's funny. I like this planet too. And this is, I'll tell you, just on a personal level, one of the most validating and exciting things I've got to do in my career. Because through having this idea, we've planted tens of thousands of trees. This program continues to grow. And, you start to reflect back on it. It's making a real impact. I've got 2 little kids, and I want to do my part to pass on a little bit of a better world. I think sometimes when we talk about sustainability, there can be this false dichotomy of be net zero today or do nothing. And there are steps along the way that we can take. This is a tangible and real program, and something that we've talked about, Mary. Other companies, other brokers specifically, can knock off this idea, right? They're like, there's truth to it. You could steal this idea. What I would rather do is I'd rather invite folks to join us. I want to see the industry get behind this. For any brokers, any companies who are interested in partnering, I will help you. I will give you the playbook, because this is such a great program. I'd be more excited to see us be the champion of it than the exclusive provider of it.
Right. Like it's not, even if someone was like, oh, well, we're going to copy FreightVana, we're going to go plant these trees for every load you book. Okay. Like,
Yes, yes, exactly. It's not where, you could get defensive in this position to say, well, you're taking an idea that we've had. This is an idea worth taking. This is an idea worth feeling. Like, do it, and I will help you to do it. We will make sure that you're successful. And so we're even putting some structure and some framework around inviting others to join us because that's how excited we are about it. We've seen great results from it. Sure, maybe if it really does become a big initiative, we might have a little less of a unique value proposition. But what I would say is we would also have an industry that's making a more positive impact. And if it's for the betterment of the industry, let's do it.
right. It's kind of like one of those where it's like, okay, so the you would want the one problem to have is that we're running out of space to plant a tree, which we're going to have to go through an obscene amount of loads to get to that point.
Yes, yes. But I've said it this way: just dream about a world where, we think about it every time we're on the highway and we see a truck passing us by. Imagine if every time a load was shipped in the U.S., a tree was planted. How awesome would that be? Let's do it.
We could probably bring back the rainforest. We could give Fern Gully a home again.
Oh my gosh! Right back to our childhood.
I feel like no childhood was complete without watching Fern Gully every year through elementary school.
And really having a crisis every time you're watching it. Like, well, wait a minute, I don't feel great now. Maybe this is why I pioneered this idea.
Bartok got you a few times.
The childhood response to Fern Gully.
So something that they did not teach us in school with Fern Gully is, there's some regulation points of it. Most recently, the SEC has claimed that they're going to they've proposed a rule that they would like shippers and other people to start disclosing their carbon. So everything from scope 1, 2, and 3. They have officially, unofficially kind of rolled back scope 3 on that. So companies are going to have to start disclosing how much carbon they're producing. And it's going to be more than just like, oh, we have recycling that comes to our office and picks up paper. It's going to be just a touch more than that. So kind of what are your thoughts on this impending regulation? And do you think it'll actually gain some traction, or do you think it'll just get shot down to nothing?
So we're operating in the Wild West right now, carbon reporting. I mean, companies are all over the place. They're making statements that sound great and might be total BS, right? And so the SEC is coming in and saying we've got to create some policy regulation here, and that makes sense. Like everything you said, what are they going to do? There's a lot of questions and maybes and a lot of proposals and not a lot of clarity yet. I think what everybody's expecting, there are going to be guidelines in place this year that require companies to be consistent and accountable to their carbon reporting, most likely for scope 1 and scope 2. Like you mentioned, scope 3 is being talked about and probably on the chopping block. But sorry, go ahead.
The main reason that they have said, I say unofficially, officially, just because the head of the SEC made an announcement about it, how potentially scope 3 might not happen. There's no regulation obviously yet for it, but because there is just kind of a lack of capturing that data and being able to report on it. But I would imagine it would not take long for that to come down the pipe later. I mean, just kind of like they had to regulate everybody on a 10K or 10Q or the quarterly and annual financial statements. I think that's pretty much just what they're trying to do. Yeah.
That's exactly where we're going. And I think that scope 3 is being talked about now so that we know it'll be the fast fall that comes. I think once there's some consensus around how we report scope 1 and 2, we know that scope 3 is going to happen. And for folks who are listening, scope 1 is the direct emissions that a shipper might have as a part of their normal operations. Scope 2 is really focusing on the consumption and use of energy to accomplish scope 1, right? Maybe that's electricity, fuel being used in transport, and a host of other things. And then scope 3 is everything else that happens in the value chain, everything else that happens in the supply chain. And that can be up to 60% of what a company is, quote unquote, accountable or responsible to. And so as broker, I really can't influence your one or two. But what I can influence is your scope three. What I can do is start to make more positive benefit. And with tree planting, what we don't say is we don't say, "Oh, we're giving you a carbon credit." Not at all. What I can tell you is we're going to plant trees, and that's a part of getting to this. I think there's this good, better, best philosophy that a lot of us have in business. It's the same idea of what do you do if it's not net zero and it's nothing? There's these steps in between, and I think that's what companies have to focus on. They have to start addressing, and quite frankly, when the SEC comes in and it starts to affect the bottom line, it starts to affect compensation, it starts to affect the investor reporting. Guess what's going to happen?
I think that like that good, better, best approach is something that is oftentimes, I don't know why sustainability is the one thing that people are like, nope, it's all or nothing. It has to be all or nothing. It's not, there's not that good, better, best. It's not like, okay, well, we are recycling today and we have a compost that we can implement now, or we've called our electricity company and we're running off of renewable energy, stuff like that, where it's just a small improvement and just a little bit better every day. So it's not like, I don't know why everyone treats sustainability and like being eco-friendly as this all or nothing approach. Like you can't change anything overnight in any aspect of a business. So why are you treating sustainability like that?
It doesn't make any sense. And I think there's been some resistance, sometimes political, sometimes uncertainty in how it affects the profitability. And there's a purity to some businesses where you want the least amount of friction or regulation to say, focus on building the best product and let the market decide the sustainability. But there really is a public good and a common interest at play here. And I think part of it too is companies need to have this even playing field. We cannot have organizations stating goals that they have no business and no path to accomplishing. So let's bring some sanity to it. Like we can't keep operating with this Wild West. And Mary, we talked about it a little bit before the show, but there is this trend in conscious consumerism, right, where folks want to support some of these companies. We've had shippers who are so excited about our program. That's not the reason they onboarded us, but it's the reason they might have been excited about onboarding us, right? Now, if I was saying I was planting trees and I wasn't doing it, that'd be a real problem, right? It's companies who say we're going to do X, Y, and Z and haven't done any of it and don't have a path to accomplishing it.
And that's where, I mean, we like I think I read something the other day that like 60% of consumers are okay paying a little bit more for something if it's perceived as sustainable. But not, and but it actually has to be sustainable. You can't just put like, we're eco-friendly and then like you're not. And it's something that like we see all the time with the greenwashing and marketing and everything like that. Oh, we're sustainable. We're sustainable. I think H&M claimed to be their denim was sustainable and then they got blasted because it wasn't. Then I think they changed it. I don't know. H&M, don't come after me if that's wrong. But basically consumers are demanding this change and they're voting with their wallets. Like they are saying, hey, I will put my money here, even though it's more expensive. It's going to go farther. It's going to do more. And they're looking for that transparency that companies need to be offering. So I think at this point in time, if anyone's like hesitant to adapt any sort of sustainability or environmental social governance policy, like I think that's to their detriment.
Well, it's not like that, but let's be really clear. There is a distinct and measurable ROI for companies that have gone down this path. They are winning in the marketplace, full stop. It's not just the right thing to do, it is the profitable thing to do. Now, there might be some cost in scaling that or investing in it, like any other investment you might make, but there is going to be a real ROI here for companies that are on the, who are progressive in this, and that's something that they're going to experience. It's something that they're going to go and enjoy.
Yeah, it's definitely like now is the time. Consumers have more information, more knowledge at their power than ever. So especially like if you're a direct to consumer company or you're working anything where that end user is, a person like you or I, there has to be some sort of thing in there. And for the love of everything, stop putting compostable on things when it's not actually compostable, because so many of those like compostable dining sets or compostable utensils, they're not actually able to be composted by most composting facilities. So I know that that's not really related to supply chain at all, but it's one of my soapboxes that I will get on.
It's related to this conversation about greenwashing. Because what you're doing now is you're making this marketing or value proposition that, again, isn't real. And that's a part of what has to be eliminated for us to really make progress and have a more sustainable ecosystem, have a more sustainable supply chain. Yeah, labeling something the wrong way, that's a bunch of the crap we've been talking about.
Like, just be honest. The consumer can take it, and if they don't like it, they'll let you know and they'll stop buying your product. Like, it's not that deep. Like, Dawn dish soap will continue to put out videos of Dawn soap helping animals in oil spills and everything like that. And for that, as long as I keep the duck on the bottle, I'm happy.
But there's this truth where the marketing of it and the reality of it, there's still a tension there. And I think you're right. The consumers are helping to drive that change. And the investors of a lot of these companies, they're helping to drive that change where the marketing has to come into the reality. We still need to tell the story, no matter what our sustainability initiatives and efforts are, but we need to tell the real story. I don't think there's any shame in that.
You can say that, like, oh, we used to have this plastic thing, and then, we developed it, and through evolution, we have this product now. Like, there's no shame in saying that, like, you've grown as a person or anything like that. I feel like I could talk about this for hours.
It's a huge conversation. When we think about sustainability, like, it's nuanced too, right? You have to break down these pieces between, what does the regulation look like? What does the marketing look like? And then what are companies doing?
Speaking of everything working together, we are almost out of time, sadly, because we cannot talk for 7 hours about this.
We could, but no one's going to watch 7 hours of this. And
yeah, everyone will tune out after like 45 minutes. But this is the first time that you have been on the show, not FreightVana. This is the first time that Lars himself has been on the show. So we need to know your take on, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Okay, I've thought about this. Knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So on a sandwich, like a hot dog, you can have you could have a pork hot dog, pork sandwich, right? You could have a beef hot dog, beef sandwich.
You can even have a chicken or a turkey one, depending on where you are.
So I'm not going to answer your question, but I'm going to ask you something.
Okay.
Is a taco a hot dog?
Okay, no, because JP destroyed my entire world. For those who don't know, our second show ever, we had JP Hampstead on, and he said the real question is a hot dog a taco? And the way that my brain broke and I completely lost all understanding of reality was alarming. So I don't think it's a taco.
See, because I can't keep a straight face, and I really should have said, well, so is a taco. I love JP, and the fact that he went there too means I'm in great company. It means
it is,
because look, it's a carbohydrate and a protein, or even veggie. Hey, we can do a veggie dog. We can do a veggie taco.
I don't like.
This might be the wrong question. I'm in Phoenix.
When I go to get tacos, hot dogs never come up on the menu. Like, tongue comes up on the menu, not hot dogs. So, like, no. Because also I don't top my hot.
Is there tongue in a hot dog?
I don't know. But also when I top my tacos, I top them fundamentally differently than I do my hot dogs. So for that, I'm going to say it's not a sandwich and it's not a taco.
No, a hot dog is not a sandwich. A hot dog is a hot dog. Let hot dogs have their moment. Let them shine.
Let them be, because you don't go to the ballpark we don't go to the ballpark and get a hot dog taco. Or you don't go to the ballpark and get tacos. Yeah, right? Ooh.
Although the ballpark here in Arizona, we can leave our friends with this. They've got what they call the Sonoran dog. And it sort of blends everything you'd get from a taco, everything you'd get from a hot dog. It's probably way too many calories, probably way overpriced. I haven't bought one.
I don't know that I would want to try that, but I'm intrigued by it.
What's the consensus? What do most folks say?
That it's a pretty good split. There's a lot of no's, there's a lot of yeses. Just depends.
All right. And then there's 2 votes for tacos being a part of this conversation.
If someone wants to reach out to you, maybe about the One Tree Planet initiative or the weird dog thing in Arizona, where can they find you?
I'm super active on LinkedIn, and there's such a great freight community that's active on LinkedIn. So go hit me up on LinkedIn, Lars Ward. I would love to ask the questions, give the advice, and especially if someone wants to know what we're doing with One Tree Planted or wants help in setting that up for their organization. you've got a champion in me. I am more than happy to help tee that up.
I love it. You don't have to strike it out and do it on your own. You can, but why? The playbook's already written.
But we'll give you the playbook. We'll give you the materials. And in fact, with our nonprofit partner, One Tree Planted, we can do it together and really consolidate a lot of the impact and while keeping things anonymous, keeping things one-to-one, we can go further as an industry together.
I love it. You guys heard it here first. Thank you so much for coming by the show.
Thank you, Mary. It was awesome.
Find Check All the Podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to check out all the other incredible FreightWaves podcasts, such as Great Quarter Gals and Loaded and Rolling. Don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter on freightwaves.com/checkcall. See you on the internet.